Great technological advances sometimes come from simple business needs. Just 3 decades ago, all business and communication machines that required connectivity were wired. Because these machines were wired, to install them required drilling holes into walls and floors, routing and rerouting wires, and packing boxes every time the machines needed to be moved. Relocating machines from one side of an office or building to another was costly. It was time-consuming, and it involved hiring crews and altering structures. In the mid-1980s, Vic Hayes was an engineer working for National Cash Register in the Netherlands, or NCR. He and a team of engineers were asked to come up with a solution for clients who wanted to avoid constantly having to drill holes and install wires to reach cash registers. In response, Vic and his team devised the first wireless cash registers. In doing so, they set in motion the evolution that would disrupt the known world of wired communications. In 1985, the United States Federal Communications Commission made a decision that enabled and facilitated the technological changes required for wireless communications. The FCC approved spectrum for general use without requiring an end-user's license. This single decision gave a competitive advantage to retailers like NCR, who supplied cash registers to big clients in the United States and around the world. They now had access to a spectrum where wireless communication could link machines and ultimately all of us. According to Vic Hayes, the father of Wi-Fi, it was a small niche market, but it was worthwhile. Indeed it was. Today, $1.1 trillion is the estimated worldwide spending on wireless communications. It all started with a simple business need, but an international standard was required to get manufacturers and consumers around the world involved and sharing compatible products. Having a standard would benefit the market in general, and it would benefit all future consumers and users. This video is the third in a series designed to teach the basics of standards education. Our focus today is on the important role that standards play in facilitating global trade. We will also look at how product testing and conformity assessment help to protect consumers and ensure reliability. We will discuss the economic benefits of strategic standardization and also help new and practicing engineers better understand how to find and use standards. When Vic Hayes and his team of technical engineers developed their first wireless products, they saw the opportunity for international standardization. Vic Hayes made the business and technology decision to take his technical proposals into the working groups of the IEEE. He did so on one condition: that his company would not force him to take a hardline position defending their preferred outcome. NCR agreed. The working group would thus bring together different and competing business players and interests. In the end, though, they would need to come together and agree on one unified and cohesive standard. It would take 7 years for the participants in the IEEE working group in the IEEE 802 Landman Standards Committee to agree on the technology appropriate for the standard. The biggest challenge was getting participants to compromise and cooperate on a single, open, voluntary standard. In many cases, these engineers worked for rival companies. Companies can choose different standard strategies depending on many factors. For different strategic market-based reasons, companies can develop proprietary standards, closed standards, or open voluntary standards. One open standard tends to create confidence in industry and the public and leads to broad market expansion. It enables competing products and competing prices. When prices go down, the market goes up to $1.1 trillion and beyond. Manufacturers around the globe have adopted IEEE standards and the IEEE 802 wireless standards. Developed by a broad group of technology experts from around the world, IEEE's portfolio of standards are accepted and used across the globe. IEEE also shares its expertise with standards developers worldwide, and IEEE 802 standards have been adopted by national, regional, and international standards organizations around the world. Adoption is a formal process that may include a reciprocal agreement between IEEE and the organization adopting the IEEE standard. IEEE coordinates its standards development work worldwide by also working with industry, governments, associations, and numerous other organizations in the development of standards. This is accomplished through established liaisons with other organizations, cross-pollination of membership, joint standards development and adoption agreements, and a strategic preference for technical global collaboration. The growth of wireless and other modern technologies around the world has been accompanied by access to many different types of devices, especially wireless devices. It is not uncommon for some of these devices to be made in countries other than the ones they are used in. How is it that these products work seamlessly for users regardless of where they are being bought and sold? Likewise, devices from different vendors need to work together, as well as devices from the same vendor. If you have ever inspected the packaging of a wireless device, chances are you've noticed a number of different logos and symbols. These may be referring to various market differentiators, such as the type of connections that the devices run on or require. Or they may be certification marks required by a regulatory body to indicate that the devices comply with certain international standards or testing. The logos may be small, but they often indicate significant efforts have been made to ensure compliance with different safety or performance requirements. This compliance is confirmed and verified by a process known as conformity assessment. Conformity assessment is an industry-recognized process that a product or service undergoes to demonstrate compliance to a standard. A broad range of constituents participate in and benefit from testing and conformity assessment programs, including vendors and manufacturers, corporations, service providers, industry alliances, trade associations, and testing laboratories. Consumers also benefit from conformity assessment because it provides them with a basis for selecting products or services. They may have more confidence in products or services that are supported by a formal supplier's declaration, or bear a mark or certificate of conformity that attests to quality, safety, or other desirable characteristics. To complete the conformity assessment process, conformity assessment organizations such as the IEEE Standards Association Conformity Assessment Program, or ICAP, partner with test laboratories and other key stakeholders from industry to develop programs based on standards. Some conformity assessment results in certification, and some does not. When products are intended for use by the global marketplace, certification marks are particularly useful. As we have seen, standards are developed to ensure a product or device will operate as intended, providing a certain level of quality and reliability. Conformity assessment resulting in the issuance of a certificate provides tangible benefits to diverse communities. The power and energy, telecommunications, food safety, toys, and healthcare are some industries that actively participate in conformity assessment programs. The interoperability, performance, and safety measures that standards developers build consensus around and include in technical standards are not always visible to everyday users of the technologies that these measures are built into. But they are there. These measures make their way into some of the agreements that enable and facilitate global trade, including those overseen by the World Trade Organization, or WTO. The WTO's Agreement on Technical Barriers to Trade, or TBT agreement, attempts to ensure that technical regulations, standards, and conformity assessment procedures do not create unnecessary obstacles to trade. Technical regulations and standards may vary from country to country, posing a challenge for producers and exporters. The TBT agreement strongly encourages the use of international standards and aims to create a predictable trading environment through its transparency requirements. Global technical standards provide numerous economic benefits. Empirical data shows that standards play an important role in enhancing labor productivity, measured as output per hour worked, and in real GDP growth. The impact, over time, of this positive contribution to output growth is substantial. Standards contribute greatly to GDP growth. Research by the British Standards Institution, for example, has found that 28.4% of annual UK GDP growth can be attributed to standards, equivalent to £8.2 billion. Research from 2008 shows that in China, 8% of GDP growth was attributed to standards. According to ISO, the International Organization for Standardization, standardization provides a basis for continuous improvement, innovation, and new product development. Standardization helps to establish a level playing field for business. Quality management standards that bolster and validate credibility help to keep companies around the world in business. In addition, standards participants can strategize to achieve specific benefits through their engagement. International standards and conformity assessment systems facilitate the conduct of international trade. They prevent unnecessary barriers to trade by offering a level playing ground. Global standards support fair competition and spur competition. Global standards that promote interoperability, efficiency, and safety improve the efficiency of production. Global standards are good for business. Because most aspects of business are impacted by standards, practicing engineers will encounter or use technical standards in their work with great frequency. Engineers need to know about standards in advance of developing new products so that they can ensure that performance, safety, or environmental factors are built into the standards from the beginning. Standards usage should therefore be factored into business plans. This saves significant amounts of time down the road when it comes time to demonstrate that the product is ready for market. It is also important to ask which market this will be. If products are intended for a global market, global standards and testing need to be considered earlier than later. If products are intended for a region of the world that has additional requirements or standards on top of that, these also need to be factored in. These additional requirements may mean identifying what logos need to be included on products and why, and then seeking out ways to obtain these logos and prove compliance with international standards and testing. An engineer who understands something about standards before entering the workforce is more valuable to his or her company. New and practicing engineers, as well as business, legal, and government professionals, benefit from knowing not just the value of standards, but also what roles they play, how and why they are developed, how they are used, and perhaps most importantly, when and how to find them. Educators more and more are incorporating standards education into their curricula. However, it is often up to new and practicing engineers to themselves take the lead in the search for the right standards to meet their needs. Standards can be obtained through the online libraries of a great number of academic institutions and universities, often at no cost to students. Many companies also maintain subscriptions to the standards published by different standards organizations. These companies in turn grant access to these subscriptions to their employees. Standards can also be purchased individually or in packages from standards organizations. It is estimated that in the United States, nearly 90% of households use wireless service. Across Asia, approximately 3.6 billion people use mobile phones, around 52% of the number of mobile subscribers in the world. In Europe, 3G mobile wireless penetration is up to 100%. Before the 1980s, none of this wireless technology existed. International standards, including the IEEE 802 standards that enable Wi-Fi, are directly related to the growth of worldwide wireless technology and the resulting global trade. Before the development of these and related standards, none of this would have been possible. Today, wireless can reach rural areas that are too far removed to be heavily wired. This access has had tremendous benefits not just in terms of communication, but also regarding access to market information, trade support, and economic growth. Conformity assessment programs help to ensure that products, including the wireless products we use every day, are safe and reliable. Standards organizations help to ensure that global standards facilitate international commerce by eliminating unnecessary barriers to trade. Global standards are made available to all those who would benefit from their use. Standards will not only be a part of the future, they will help to shape it. New engineers are encouraged to learn more. Contact IEEE or other standards developing organizations for more information and to begin your own journey with standards development.